Welcome to RPGamer's review of Darkest Dungeon 2. This review was written by Delander, read by JC Servant, and the video edited by Her Frog. Some games build a reputation for being difficult, and this can be a significant challenge to balance that difficulty in a fresh way that still feels true to the experience. Red Hook Studios took the familiar side view roguelike tactical gameplay of its first title, blending it with a new travel perspective and different mechanics to give a fresh experience to Darkest Dungeon 2. Brutally hard combat still pervades every step of the way, needing careful strategy and some luck to survive, making every step forward feel like an accomplishment. Even the best laid plans can be waylaid by random chance, though, so for every bit of strategy utilized, there's still a nail-biting conclusion to make sure it works. The story and world building of Darkest Dungeon 2 has small, compelling stories littered throughout the experience, with the focus still on gameplay. This leaves a few paragraphs of backstory that can be found for each of the 12 playable heroes in the game. 4 of these heroes hop in a stagecoach and travel through ruinous regions to reach the mountain. The mountain and these backstories are where the nameless player and the heroes confront their decisions that have led to crumbling psyches born from madness, anger, frustration, and guilt that they wish to atone for. Every bit of descriptive dialogue is delightfully delivered by the droll academic, the game's narrator voiced again by the returning Wei Jun. A basic run of Darkest Dungeon 2 will have players traverse through ruinous regions and climb the mountain to fight a chapter boss. There are 5 chapters in total that each add a bit more to the player's backstory while making the route to the mountain more difficult. This difficulty increase starts in the second chapter as layer notes become mandatory due to needing to equip the trophy won from one of them to even fight the mountain boss. Layers are multiple fight events against 2 waves of region-specific enemies and an extremely difficult mini-boss. Surviving these fights isn't guaranteed as, at the end of the region, players still have to contend with the gatekeeping Oblivion's Rampart node before making it to the next end safely. Oblivion's Ramparts are fights against tough cultist enemies, but generally manageable if prepared for properly. The player's reward for surviving this gauntlet of layers, dangerous travel, and mini-bosses are chapter bosses that have unique mechanics to uncover. All of this is geared to keep players constantly on their toes as every step feels earned, and the feeling of accomplishment for coming away victorious is palpable. Bringing the player on their journey to the mountain is their trusty stagecoach, with which each player can run over debris to gain extra loot. Each region is a series of connected location nodes with various obstacles in between each one that can cause harm to their stagecoach. These obstacles can become annoying quickly as players deal with combat ambushes, hazardous conditions that affect the stagecoach's wheel and armor, as well as loathing points. If an obstacle is reached with any part at 0 condition, a combat begins, and players will have to deal with a random party member having to conduct repairs every turn until the fight is over. Loathing points are increased by negative events and reduced by defeating ambushes, monster dens, etc. But if they do reach 4, then the final boss gains a health boost, while other maladies can befall the stagecoach. The stagecoach's light holds back some of the enemy's powers, but it slowly decreases, necessitating being boosted through assistant encounters, oasis nodes, or items to reduce how frequently enemies gain advantages. Balancing these traveling disadvantages is another layer of strategy added to Darkest Dungeon 2 that adds to its theme of overcoming adversity in the face of overwhelming anguish. Helping offer respite between these ruinous regions are inns. Inns give players much needed health boost and allow them to replace any fallen comrades with random sidelined heroes, while also allowing them to make purchases or use skill mastery points. These skill mastery points are obtained from combat and upgrade any hero's ability to a better version once. Currency is sparse in Darkest Dungeon 2 and is split between relics and baubles. Relics are used to buy combat and inn items, while baubles are used for stagecoach upgrades and trinkets. Heroes can equip 1 combat item and 2 trinkets, giving a lot of opportunity for experimentation due to the large number of them that can be unlocked and how infrequently the best ones can be obtained in each run. Inn items include ways to boost inter-party relationships, a key mechanic that influences whether heroes can counterattack or heal stress, and provides a host of potential positive boons. There are things that can cause 2 heroes to have a negative relationship as well, which would be wise to avoid. They can add to their stress, force some skills to be equipped that may not help the player, or even cause debuffs for the other party member every time that ability is used. Stress is an additional mechanic that players have to juggle for their heroes. Too much stress and characters are likely to have a meltdown, which causes a drop in party relationship and substantial health drop. Rarely, players can reach a high stress level and become resolute, gaining an opposite bonus instead, but planning for this is foolhardy due to a slim chance of it occurring. Healing stress isn't that easy, as there are few abilities that do so, and items help somewhat, but the best way to counter it is with positive relationship between heroes. Luckily, health dropping at zero is not an automatic death. Instead, that hero is given a death's door state, and any subsequent damage received can become a death blow. However, restoring even a single point resets the process. Both meltdowns and death stores can cause a lot of anguish for players, as one bit of bad luck can cause everything to fall apart quickly. Mismanaging a party or just getting unlucky in combat will quickly lead to game overs. When this happens, players can accumulate candles from accomplishing various tasks in the game for upgrading to make the next run easier. Candles are used at the altar of hope to unlock new items, boost hero abilities, and unlock new ones. Unlocking things is a blessing and a curse, as the shops still have the same very limited number of selections, leading to sometimes having nothing useful to use currency on. Earning candles gives players a sense that something is gained from a failed run, but only getting minimal upgrades for several hours of work is a tough pill to swallow. Each of the heroes in Darkest Dungeon 2 has a variable smorgasbord of options to choose from to make them all powerhouses in their own way. Just how strong, though, is based on equal parts player choice and luck. Players can choose their equipment, of which there are 12 skills to use, and even one of 4 paths to undertake that can boost some abilities. Each character is automatically given 2 quirks at the start of the run, one positive and one negative. Some quirks are small, like a refusal to eat anything fungal, but others are game altering, like a head wound that causes the character to be dazed half the time, which moves their turn to the end of the round. Players can gain new quirks at ends, but these are more likely to be negative than positive and throw another wrench into the player's carefully crafted plans. Negative quirks can be eliminated at field hospitals for a price or with the use of certain items. Juggling quirks, relationships, and the stagecoach can all feel overwhelming at first, but the key is to ignore the minor inconveniences while managing the worst situations as best as possible. Helping mitigate the frustration and boost some luck is the Traveling Flame. Traveling Flames help with things like positive relationship chance, death's door survival, flame management, among other perks, and are available for free at the first end players travel to. These boosts only get stronger with each failed run, gaining more perks to a max of 5 until a chapter boss is defeated. Players may feel like a run is doomed when a member or two of their party is killed, but that isn't always the case, as the random replacement can end up being the game saver in their own right. As unfair and random as the game can feel at times, players will come to understand that it is really finely balanced and there are still many paths to victory and rewards for good planning, though a bit of luck does help. Darkest Dungeon 2 has a very distinct Gothic look to it, enhanced by harsh pencil-like dark lines that permeate each design. Regions accentuate this as they evoke different styles of desolation as it draws upon fire, rampant vine growth, and plagued farmlands, to name a few. There are many little details in each screen, image, and combat animation that there's also something to appreciate on each viewing. While taking in the visuals, players will hear striking violin work as a part of the background music to keep tension slowly building to reach combat. Mixing in with this dreary atmosphere is the delightful voice work of Wayne June that mixes with the wailing sounds of pain, anguish, and fear to pierce through the background music and set the tone perfectly. When the game is successful, it can be easy to just make a few changes and call it a day for a sequel. Altering the formula with how traversal works and adding in new ways to make the game feel both punishing and fair is what makes Darkest Dungeon 2 exemplary. With so many different options of making things work, it is easy to get lost in this world for just one more run. Those that stick past the many failed runs will find a game that shines by not having players learn to run from walking, but rather how to stand battered and bloodied after crawling and fighting through everything the game throws at them. This game is a well-designed gem for any brave enough to enter its depths. RPGamer gives Darkest Dungeon 2 a 4 out of 5. This review was based on a free game copy provided by the publisher. For more details, hit up the link in the description below. For more video content, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitch for daily streams of your favorite RPGs. Join in on the discussion at rpgamer.com/discord. And for the latest in RPG news, head over to rpgamer.com.